Good morning, everyone. So, today I wanted to share with you a little bit about my journey with low carb diet, carnivore, keto, ketovore, and also gout. As some of you closer friends know, I've dealt with gout since my mid 40s. But so I get a lot of questions regarding my diet and how the whole gout situation reacted to a low carb diet. So let me take you back a little bit and try to make these videos not too boring, hopefully. But I'll take you back to about a little bit over 20 years. I was in my mid to late 40s. I know it's been a little bit over 20 years when I first flared up with gout. I am 54 years old now, and so mid to late 40s is no, actually mid 40s is when I started suffering with it. Just to give you a little background about myself, I am of Portuguese descendancy. I am Portuguese. I was born in Portugal, and I came here in 1984, almost 1985. And so we had a very typical my upbringing at my parents. We had a very typical Portuguese diet, which consisted of pretty much a Mediterranean diet, very clean. We didn't drink sodas. It was basically water, tea. um, Although I did like sugar and sweets, I've always been a dessert kind of person. I enjoyed my sweets, my cheesecake, and all of that stuff. But I never had a problem with gout until my late 40s or mid to late 40s. So anyway, I started suffering with it. I was about 200 pounds at the time. And I remember exactly the first time I had my first gout attack. I was going up the stairs, and all of a sudden I felt this excruciating pain in my toe. Now I don't know if I injured my toe and then it brought on gout. I'm not sure, but I know that that's when I got it because it was on my big toe. I don't remember if my big toe was already hurting a little bit, but that's where it all started. I remember exactly the day and the place. I can still see it in my head. It's excruciating pain. And so, anyway, for those of you who suffer with it, you know what I'm talking about. So, after I got married, my diet became not as clean and as a Mediterranean diet was for me. So I went from slowly transitioned, as I became an adult from a Mediterranean, European, Portuguese diet that consisted of, your meat, fish. We ate a lot of fish, stews, vegetables, not very much pasta. Pasta was a once in a while, once a month maybe type of thing. So I had a very clean diet in comparison to what my diet became later on. Um, and my diet later on was a result of eating out and just I'm not ashamed to say that in the beginning of my marriage life, finances were tight sometimes. Chinese buffet was appealing because it was cheap and you can eat all you want and cheap. Um, but little did I know that, along with the SAD diet, the standard American diet, and all of the uh, bad diet that I was having later on, I would pay for it, and I pay for it dearly. So, of course, I went from being a very lean young man in my 20s, muscular and pretty built and very active, to slowly gaining weight. And I was probably around 200 pounds for a 5'11", 5'10" actually now. Uh, Height, I was about 200 pounds at the time, or near the 200-pound measure, weight measure, um, when I first got my gout attack. So anyway, I suffered with gout on and off, um, and I tried everything. I tried everything. I mean, you name it, I've tried everything. Vegetarian diet, vegan diet, Mediterranean diet, but I was still eating a diet that included sugar, refined carbs, processed foods, and I don't drink. Alcohol is something I never really got into. I don't smoke either. Um, but so I would have spouts. I've had certain times of the year that it seemed to affect me more. I can tell you that um, in the spring, usually between February, March, April would be the worst times of the year for me to have gout for some reason. Um, I used to suffer with seasonal allergies, and my wife always brings up the fact that after the seasonal allergies kind of went away, they say that every 7 years your body changes. Um, it could be part of the reason too. I don't know, but I can tell you that after the allergies went away, right away, that's when I started having gout attacks. Coincidence? I don't know, but I know that there were certain times of the year, particularly early spring, when it seemed the gout attacks would be worst, or more frequent, if you will. Um, Anyway, fast forwarding a little bit, I'm gonna say around 2016, I was probably having bouts where at some points I needed crutches. It was bad. It really, really was bad. So I was feeling exactly what a lot of people that have contacted me are going through, and I know exactly what you're going through because I've been there. So being laid back for 2 weeks on crutches with excruciating pain, it was hell on earth, basically. Hell on earth. That's what I remember. Anyway, in 2017, I suffered a pretty bad accident, and I ended up having 2 years of surgery. I'm sorry, 7 surgeries and 2 years of physical therapy. And I gotta tell you, it was not easy. It was not easy. And as a matter of fact, maybe because of the stress, I don't know, the gout flare-ups started getting into other joints. So if you have gout, it's not just in your typical, uh, toe or big toe, or it moves around. As a matter of fact, gout can move from your toe, flare up in your toe, go away, and all of a sudden show up in your ankle, or your knee, or different parts of your foot. I mean, when you start suffering with gout, in a more advanced stage of gout, you can get it in different parts of your body. Thankfully, I have the gout has not gone above my knees. In other words, the joints that I've had gout on have been in my feet, different parts of my feet, or my knees. Um, Usually, it's on one leg or the other. It usually will be one leg that gets affected. Usually, one joint. But I've had it where it starts on one side of, let's say, the left foot, for example, and it moves into the toe, and then all of a sudden it's in your the toe gets better, a little tender, and you think it's gone away, and all of a sudden it's in your Achilles heel area there, or on your um, ankle. It's so it can be a problem. All right. Anyway, so after my whole situation, after I came to a point where I was ready to give up. But I've always been a fighter. Must be my Portuguese blood. I've always been a fighter, and I don't give up that easily. So I started doing uh, some reading, and I some reading. I read a lot. I have a whole library of books on just health and metabolism, your diet, all of these things. So I went through the phase of believing that okay, it's all of the red meat, it's the red meat, it's the seafood, it's the alcohol, but I don't drink alcohol. So I started finding different things and writing down what a little bit of a food journal, and I started finding that, man, I went out and I had a steak, surf and turf. I had a steak and shrimp, and man, I'm going to suffer. And all of a sudden, nothing happened. I'd go out and have a lobster, nothing happened. But then I'd have my wife would buy, or we would buy some these little cookies with the strawberry filling in the middle, and I'd have two or three cookies. And the next day, sure enough, I was basically flared up with gout. Um, and so that, and I would write all of these things down, and I noticed that I started noticing that it wasn't so much uh, meat that triggered my gout attacks, although I have to say that there have been, when I was doing the standard American diet, that I would order a pizza, for example, a meat lover's pizza, and one day I had a meat lover's pizza, and it did flare me up. But I don't think it was the meat, because I've already found out too that tomato sauces, certain tomato sauces, will flare me up also, or had a tendency to flare me up. Um, so I don't think it was the meat. It was mostly a combination of the sauces, the other ingredients, and maybe the meat along with it. But we'll get there in just a moment. So I started noticing that certain desserts would flare me up, others wouldn't. I'll give you an example. Um, Blueberry muffins from Dunkin' Donuts, I remember, was something that I love having in the morning with my breakfast on the go. Breakfast on the go. Hearty, healthy blueberry muffins. Well, of course, with my research, I started looking, and I looked into the ingredients of blueberry muffins, and I quickly realized the healthy blueberry muffins were really not healthy at all. And the actually the little blueberry things in there that they call blueberries, they were made with propylene glycol, which is used in food, but it's also antifreeze used in RVs if you know how to winterize your RVs. But anyway, so garbage basically, and those would flare me up sometimes. So, but then if my wife made a dessert made by her with simple basic ingredients, I could eat it and nothing would happen. So to try to keep these videos short, I started experimenting all kinds of things, and I even tried the vegan diet. I had books on the vegan diet, and I tried that, and I'll be honest with you, I had never been so constipated and so I just did not feel healthy whatsoever. And I was vegan for not vegan, I'm sorry, vegetarian, almost vegetarian for 7 months, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And by the way, it did not help my gout. I still had gout flare-ups. Maybe not as bad, but still, I still had them. Um, Now, keep in mind, when I did the vegan diet, I eliminated sugar. So that's an important key factor of the whole thing. So the gout was a little bit better, but it did not go away. Okay. So in 2019, I decided to go get some full physical blood work, and I went to get a CAC score, which transformed my life, and I'll explain why. So, coronary artery calcium score, it's a CAC score. It's highly recommended. And I don't remember now why I decided to do that, but I know I had been watching some Netflix documentaries. Um, the big, what was it? The one where the guy had the vegetable juicing and all of that stuff. And, anyway, so there's something that prompted me to go and do it. And it turns out that I came back with a calcium score of 186. Now, keep in mind, there's athletes out there with calcium scores of 2,000. But so still 186. With a 186, the damn doctor that I was going to obviously took advantage of that to scare the crap out of me, and it worked. It really worked. I literally drove home with tears in my eyes, thinking that I was going to die in the next 5 years of a heart attack, and it really put the fear of God in me. And Sometimes it takes it. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a health scare to make you really change your ways. And I gotta say that that's what did it for me. If I was lacking motivation to really make a change and be careful with and be more careful with what I was eating and with my diet, that was it. And that's a key thing. I hate to say it, but unfortunately, it takes a major health event or a health event to really make somebody change. Um, and that's unfortunate. Unfortunate. That's how human beings are. But so I came home and I thought, well, I have beginnings of cardiovascular disease, or what cardiovascular disease with a score of 186. you know uh, just the thought, it was very scary. I was now 230 pounds, so I was pre-diabetic, although he didn't tell me that. um, I with educating myself and reading, I knew that at 230 pounds, my triglycerides were high, my HDL was low. I was definitely a mess. Um, so I became very desperate to change my diet and try to find a solution for me. So I decided to get a lot more serious with my diet, and with doing a lot of research, and uh, went on some Facebook forums, forums online about health and diet and so on. And I started seeing uh, other people, a few other people, there weren't too many at the time, sharing information about keto, low carb diet, and so I gave up on my vegan diet. That was not working. And I got into low carb ketogenic diet and started. And don't mind me, I got some books. I have a few books of the many that I bought and read the whole thing. Some of these books I read more than once. But I remember the first books that I started reading was the books of Dr. William Davis, Wheat Belly, and I ended up buying all of his books. I even signed up to the online um, program that he had. Um, but then I found other books by Dr. Joseph Mercola. Fat for Fuel was another one. Uh, Keto for Life from Mark Sisson. Um, and finally, I came across Dr. Ken Berry. If you're in the low carb carnivore diet and you don't know Dr. Ken Berry is, then you're living under a rock. And I bought some of his books. I have more of his stuff, but he has a treasure trove of information online on YouTube. Lies My Doctor Told Me. It was one of them. But at the same time, I started looking into my cholesterol also. So I read Lipid Lunacy, The Great Cholesterol Myth, um, The Clot Thickens. Of course, now remember, I was concerned at this point with my cardiovascular disease, with my heart, obviously. So now I had two reasons to really pay attention to my diet and try to find something that worked and some way of becoming healthier. I had two big reasons: gout attacks, gout flare-ups, and now, you know, cardiovascular disease, which sounded horrible. Now I don't even, I guarantee you that is watching right now, if you go get a CAC score, most likely you already have some form of cardiovascular disease going on if you're around my age. So it's not unheard of, or something now that worries me. I mean, of course, I'm worried about staying healthy and keeping that cardiovascular disease from progressing, and that's a whole different topic. But so anyway, I had now two major reasons to figure out what's going on, and I'm going to post an image here where you can see what happened to me and uh, my beginnings, or my journey into the keto diet, and you will see the dates there of me when I started, and about 5.5 months later, you can see it on the photo, how much weight I had lost. So I quickly lost over 80 pounds in 5.5 months, 6 months. It was not easy in the beginning. I mean, I had cravings like you have no idea. Um, but anyway, so I adopted the keto life, and I was able to start losing weight. So I went from 230 pounds down to I think at one point I was 165 pounds, and I felt like gone with the wind. I looked at myself in the mirror, and of course, when you lose a lot of weight, you kind of look a little sickly, because your body's adjusting, the skin in your face is adjusting, and it takes time. So that's something I want you to prepare yourself for. That when you lose all of this weight, go out, catch some sun, get some rest. Eventually, your body will recover from all of that. Your skin will tighten up again, and anyway, so that was an interesting situation. Everybody thought I was dying of something, No, I'm just doing a keto diet, low carb, trying to lose weight, all of that. But now here's the amazing part. Finally, I'm going to say about 6 months into the keto diet, my gout was pretty much gone. And the other thing I have to say, this is important. About 2 months, maybe 3 months into the keto diet, my gout flare-ups became, it was rare. And I have to say that when I did flare up, it was not even, it was a fraction of the pain. I mean, they were not as bad. I mean, it was unbelievable how quicker and less painful those gout flare ups became over time. It does not happen overnight. I remember it took a few months, maybe 2 or 3 months, before I started to really notice, hey, you know, my flare ups are not as bad. Um, but I have to say that the 3, 4, 5 months, the first 3, 4, 5 months, it was a battle physically, but more mentally, and I'll explain why. It was a battle mentally because we've been indoctrinated for so long about the standard American diet and a way of eating. And if you suffer with gout, you get indoctrinated by all of these people who tell you that, you know, meat is bad for you, seafood is bad for you, and all of these things that if you do the research, you find today that it's actually wrong. Um, so, and then of course, um, I was mentally battling the fact also that okay, but if I have a little bit of cardiovascular disease going on already, and I'm eating a ketogenic diet which consists mainly of meat and butter and these things that they say are bad for you. Uh, am I? Yeah, I'm losing weight, but am I killing myself because I'm eating all of this stuff? But if you read the research and you connect with other people who are doing this diet, people like Dr. Ken Berry, I was blessed with finding a friend online who's become a very good close friend of mine. His name is Brett Smith. I know if you watch this, I couldn't go on without mentioning my friend Brett Smith. He was the one who also he took the time to explain to me cardiovascular disease, and I never forget the first thing he said to me was, sit down, take a deep breath, you are not dying. And he's someone that um, also went through his whole battle with losing weight, cardiovascular disease, reversing. He actually reversed his cardiovascular disease score. He lowered it. So it is reversible. I know that for a fact. I have a friend, a close friend, who did it. He shared all of the paperwork in the book that he wrote about it also. So I had that mental support from my new friend, and so I embraced this journey. I lost the weight, and along with it, I reduced my gout flare-ups substantially. Substantially. I mean, I put my crutches away and never used them again, um, as long as I was in a ketogenic diet. And that's an interesting part. It's coming now. But anyway, so I was in a low carb, very strict keto, under 20 grams of carbs per per day. Um, Somewhat of a ketovore diet. So my carb intake was very low, and I completely eliminated processed foods, sugar, fructose, um, what else? So all of those processed foods and all of that stuff that's really vegetable seed oils. So sugar, vegetable seed oils, processed foods, wheat, all of that stuff. I eliminated that from my diet. But um, I I was substituting, and this is because I've always been someone who enjoyed desserts. Um, I've always struggled with, um, you know, avoiding sweets, for example, and so I did fall off. I did fall off, a few times, but I would fall off and get right back on it. So somehow my body was able to kind of handle it, but I was substituting uh, those sweets or sugar by using other types of sweeteners, and they were keto friendly. Um, and so I was making, muffins with almond flour instead of regular flour because I was avoiding wheat and all of that stuff. Using the artificial sweeteners, the different artificial sweeteners that are good for, like monk fruit sweetener, for example, is a big one. So I never, and that was my downfall with keto, was that I was never able to 100% say that I was, done with sweets or, you know. And so that was my downfall with the keto diet. And uh, I, although it was much easier to be in control of what I ate, and it was much easier to say no to cheesecake or ice cream. The problem with the keto diet, or not the problem with the keto diet, but the problem when you're doing keto is that unfortunately you have all of these companies that have started making keto friendly ice cream, keto friendly desserts, and that is horrible for somebody like me who just enjoys sweets. And so it was hard going to Costco food shopping, and I knew what I needed to buy, but then all of a sudden being bombarded with keto friendly products, which really are not keto friendly if you do your research. Um, and even those keto friendly products, you got to read the ingredients because they lie. It says keto friendly, but then you read the back, it'll say cane sugar, for example, or so anyway, long story short, we ended up selling our house in Connecticut and moving to Indiana. And let me tell you, if there's one state that has a horrible, horrible diet, it's Indiana. So far, I mean, I've traveled. If you know me personally, you know I've been all over the world. As a former musician and all of that, I traveled. I have traveled South America, Europe, you name it. I have traveled. I've been exposed to a lot of different cultures, different foods, and all of that. And I've traveled in the United States. And I hate to say it, I have nothing against Indiana, but their diet is bad. Maybe because they grow a lot of corn. I don't know. I'm not trying to make fun or anything, but um, very high carb, corn based meals. They drink a lot of, as they call it, pop or soda. Your typical person doesn't drink water, they drink Mountain Dew. I mean, that's horrible. They have a very, people around here, I feel sorry for them when it comes to their diet. They have a really, really poor diet. Um, and unfortunately, moving to Indiana, the whole process of selling my house, buying a new house, staying in hotels, and staying, temporarily at my son's house, I fell off of the strict keto diet, and I got to rephrase that, strict keto diet. I fell off the strict keto diet, but I never went back to a standard American diet. But unfortunately, did start eating a little bit more sweets once in a while, cheated a little bit more. And so I got to go back a little bit. Being in the ketovore diet for 3 years. I gotta say that before I moved to Indiana, my gout flare-ups, all of that was gone. I was gout free for, gout free for over a year. Um, so I was doing ketovore for 3.5 years or so. And like I said, my last year in keto, I was gout free. I had no problem whatsoever. Pain free. My joints were great. I was hovering between 165 pounds to 170 pounds. Um, but moving to Indiana, I fell off. Fell off a little bit because I was kind of forced to eat out a lot, eating somewhere else, at somebody else's house. Um, so anyway, I fell off the keto diet. I was eating somewhat of a still a low carb. I never went back to vegetable seed oils. I never went back to eating pasta. I haven't had pasta in since 2019, since I started keto. So, so I fell off the keto diet, but I was still somewhat low carb diet. I don't know what to call it, but it was not as strict as I was. So what happened? You can guess it. Um, my first year in Indiana, I progressively gained a little bit of weight. I went from being 165 to 170 pounds to being 190 was the highest that I got. And guess what came back? Slowly but surely, the gout flare-ups started progressing. Once in a while, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little worse, and a little worse, and a little worse, and then all of a sudden, it got to a point where, okay, now I am having my gout flare-ups again to the point where I'm home for a week and I can't do anything because they're bad. So I had to kick myself in the ass again and say, okay, what are you doing? I literally looked at myself in the mirror and said, what are you doing? You know what you have to do. You know you can't eat like this. And, you know, so I became very strict again with my diet, um, and did a little more research. Meanwhile, there were some more studies that have come out about fructose, which was very interesting. Mind you, I never went back to drinking soda or anything like that. Again, I don't drink alcohol. My drink is always this. If I don't have water, it's either coffee or unsweetened tea. And even the unsweetened tea is rare. I have that rarely. Most of the time, or 99% of the time, I drink water and I drink my coffee with heavy cream. So anyway, long story short, I said, well, I gotta turn this around quick. I gotta turn this around quick. So I was doing some reading about um, uric acid. If you suffer with gout, you know uric acid is something important. And I was reading about fructose and read all of these new research that had come out about fructose and uric acid and gout. And there was a couple of videos that Dr. Canberry put out, um, a couple of videos that Dr. Perlmutter put out also about fructose and gout. And I, uh, the carnivore diet was also a big thing now. And so I decided, okay, you know what? I need to reverse this quicker than I did with with the keto diet. I cannot be suffering and being in this situation again. I cannot allow myself to do that. So I dove in. I'm the kind of guy, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And so I became a carnivore overnight, literally. I just said, you know what, I got to do this. But my gout was really coming back, and it was coming back with a vengeance. So I went out to a doctor and decided to start taking allopurinol. So just so you know, while I was on my keto diet and uh, the years that I went through the keto diet, and like I said, for over a year, I had no gout whatsoever. I was not taking any medication, no nothing. Okay, I was many times I thought about taking allopurinol to reduce your uric acid, but I did not. Um, but now, I was in a position where I really needed to get rid of this situation, put an end to the gout again. And so I decided for the first time to start taking allopurinol along with my carnivore diet. Um, Mistake number one, okay? And this is a question I get all the time. It is hard to find a doctor that actually knows how allopurinol works, how to prescribe allopurinol. It is very, very hard. Most doctors will just say, okay, here's your allopurinol and start taking it. You will find, or I found, especially out here in Indiana, that a lot of times, how do I say this? The doctor will tell you, here, I need you to start taking allopurinol. And basically, the pharmacist at CVS is the one that ends up saying, okay, this is how you're going to take it. Now, I'm not stupid, and I've been around the block a few times, and I've read a lot, and I educate myself. So, um, you know, I also have another friend, Dr. Pete, who's got Dr. Pete's Club, who has a whole channel about uric acid and gout also. And I started making the questions because what happened is, okay, you start taking allopurinol at a low dose and then slowly increment it. But then I was reading, that you're supposed to take the allopurinol, start at 100 milligrams for a few weeks and then go up a little bit for a few more weeks, and then until you reach a level of allopurinol that, you check your uric acid and you find that, okay, you're taking enough to keep your uric acid at a good level. Um, Anyway, what I want to say is this, and I find people asking this question all the time at the different gout forums. Mistake number one that happened with me was that I started taking the allopurinol without taking colchicine. Okay? I am not a doctor. You need to find yourself a doctor. I am not a doctor. This is not legal medical advice. This is what I found. This is the studies that I read. This is what I found, and I found that it worked for me. Okay. If you go to a good, knowledgeable doctor that knows about gout, they will start you with colchicine 0.6 milligrams once a day, one pill once a day for 2 weeks before you even start with the allopurinol. Because the allopurinol will have a tendency in the beginning, because of the changes in uric acid, it'll have a tendency to flare you up. This is how they do it in Europe. They will start you with colchicine zero point 0.6 milligrams of colchicine 2 weeks before you even start taking the allopurinol. 2 weeks in, you start taking your allopurinol 100 milligrams for a couple of weeks while you're taking the colchicine. So you could be taking that colchicine for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Okay? I know it sounds horrible, but let me tell you. If you start taking the allopurinol and you read the pamphlets on allopurinol, allopurinol in the beginning of taking allopurinol, it will flare you up. It will flare you up to a point where you're going to need those crutches. Okay? And that's what happened to me the first month, where I actually went to the doc. I called the doctor. I said, Doc, when I was finding out about the whole colchicine, allopurinol, he said, no, just take the allopurinol. It'll eventually start working. So I finally said, the hell with this. I'm looking at all of this research coming from Europe. I made a phone call. Actually, my father spoke to a doctor out in Europe. My parents live in Europe. And the doctor said, no, he needed to be taking colchicine along with that until the allopurinol stabilizes his system and until the uric acid stabilizes. So I asked my doctor for a prescription of colchicine, and I started taking one colchicine every morning along with my allopurinol at night. I take my allopurinol at night. I used to break my allopurinol half and half. I would take half in the morning and half at night. But then I read some studies that show that uh, the spikes of uric acid, the higher spikes of uric acid, tend to be overnight. Hence the reason many of us used to flare up at night or wake up in the morning with a flare up. So I decided to just take my allopurinol, the full dose at night. Um, so I was taking my one pill of colchicine, 0.6 milligrams in the morning, and my dose of allopurinol at night. And it took about a week or so, and all of a sudden, the gout flare-ups started going away, and my uric acid, and I will post some pictures, my uric acid, they used to be at 11 and 12, started dropping. Now, I have heard and I have seen studies and I've heard um, testimonies from other people saying that without allopurinol, without any medication, they were able to get rid of gout, reverse gout, not have gout anymore. But it took them a year or two to get to that point. I also heard about other people saying that they did the carnivore diet, they took the allopurinol, and a year later they were able to slowly wean off of the allopurinol, and they've been gout free, no allopurinol, no medication, gout free, just staying on the carnivore diet. Here's where I am right now. My uric acid, so I'm hyperuricemic, being my uric acid always was high, 10, 11, 12 was my uric acid numbers. Um, I am now 5 months, a little bit over 5 months on January, February, March, April, May. So I'm 5 months, almost 6 months into the carnivore diet. My uric acid dropped slowly, from the high uric acid that I had down. It started dropping. And I will post some pictures. You'll see my uric acid now rides 4, 4.5, 4, 4.5. That's where it is. That's doing a strict carnivore diet, not lion diet, strict carnivore, okay? where I eat all and everything that's animal based. I drink coffee. I use heavy cream on my coffee. I do dairy. I do cheese. I do kefir. I do yogurt. I do not drink regular milk. I don't. Just okay. So dairy. Um, and I do my coffee. Uh, sweet stuff. I don't. Unsweetened tea. Rarely I'll have unsweetened tea, and I know that's not really carnivore, but that's about the only thing that once in a very full moon, maybe I'll have an unsweetened tea. That's probably the one thing that's not carnivore. You could speculate that coffee is not carnivore either, but I do drink coffee. So, carnivore diet, along with yellow purinol and colchicine. I stopped taking the colchicine a while back now. As soon as I found that my uric acid stabilized and my gout flares stopped, I stopped the colchicine also. So I haven't been in colchicine for over a month now. So um, it will take uh, 3 months or so, minimum of 3 months for your uric acid to stabilize when you are doing your carnivore diet and taking your allopurinol and all of that. Some people I have seen that can take up to a year of getting rid of flares, getting rid of colchicine. So it depends. Okay. So what's the take here? Sorry, this camera, I don't know why it has a tendency to go in and out. I have a screen here where I can see it. But anyway, um, what's the take on all of this? If you're eating a standard American diet and you suffer with gout, you will never get rid of gout with eating a standard American diet. You're always going to have flare-ups. Maybe not as many if you're taking allopurinol and you're eating a standard American diet and you still drink alcohol and that. Yes, the allopurinol is going to help you. I know somebody that eats everything and anything because they take allopurinol and so hey, I can eat anything is the approach they take. And yes, they'll go months and months, maybe a year without a flare up, and then all of a sudden they'll flare up. Okay. So if you're eating a standard American diet and you drinking a lot of alcohol, if you drink eating a lot of sugar, processed foods, and all of that, you will never get rid of your gout. I'm going to tell you right now. I suffered with it for a long time. I'm telling you, you have to change your diet. You have to change your ways. If you don't, you are going to be miserable and you will not get rid of it. I have been there. I've done that. I know how painful it is. And I'm telling you, you have to get away from the standard American diet. Okay? Now, I've tried vegetarian. I've tried almost a vegan diet. I tried a vegetarian diet. It did not work for me. If I was taking olive, it made it a little better, but it did not get rid of my gout flare-ups. Now, had I been taking allopurinol with a vegan or vegetarian diet, maybe, but my body just did not do well with with that diet. It just did not. Um, can you eat keto and get rid of your gout flare-ups? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Here's the problem for me with the keto diet. Because I am so addicted to sugar and sweets, it was very hard for me to stay away and not cheat while I was doing the keto diet. And this is something that I've heard from different people also. So while I was doing the keto diet, I had a tendency to cheat. Okay. Here's what the carnivore diet did for me. The carnivore diet eliminated, I can tell you, it eliminated those cravings. I do not, the carnivore diet once is the only diet so far that I can say I've had people eating cake in front of me. I've had people eat all these things that I used to love eating, and uh, the carnivore diet is the only diet that I can tell you eliminated my cravings. I have not had sugar or cravings for sugar in at least 5 months. It really, really does work. So, if you are suffering from gout, I urge you to really, really, if you take anything away from this video, and hopefully you're still listening to me, I know it's a little bit of a long video, I urge you to look into a low carb, ketogenic diet. Carnivore could be a start. But if you're willing, and I know the pain of gout hopefully will motivate you to try the carnivore diet. It is not a fad. It's not a bunch of BS. I'm telling you, I am not a YouTube celebrity or anything like that. I'm a human being just like you. The carnivore diet really does work. Gout is caused by fructose, insulin resistance, inflammation in your body, and a little bit from certain foods, okay? Meat is not one of them. You can eat all the meat you want. You can eat all the eggs you want. You can eat the dairy. You can eat all of these things. I'm telling you, allow yourself a few months into carnivore, and there's nothing wrong with taking allopurinol. I know some people would say, oh, there's no allopurinol in the diet. Yes, but if you are miserable and you are in a lot of pain and it's taking you to the edge of life, okay, with this pain, it's not allowing you to go to work and pay bills, okay, there's nothing wrong with allopurinol. That's why I started it. I can't afford to sit at home, uh, and those bills keep coming every month. Okay, again, I'm not no celebrity, YouTube celebrity. I don't have thousands of dollars coming every month from my YouTube channel. Okay, I work. I have to work. So, if you're really in pain, try the carnivore diet. There's nothing wrong with it. Educate yourself about it. Get yourself with a good doctor that understands how to start an allopurinol regimen along with your colchicine. Understand that allopurinol is going to make you flare up. If you don't take the colchicine, those flare ups are going to be worse, okay? But a minimum of 3 months into the carnivore diet and the allopurinol and all of that, you are going to feel like a new man, okay? Now, of course, I weighed 230 pounds. I now and I went down to 165. Then I bounced after 3 years of keto because of my move. Like I said, I bounced up to 190, which was still a lot less than 230 pounds. I got on the carnivore diet and it quickly bounced back. I now hover around 170 pounds, and that's where I feel good. Okay, so I have finally reached a point in my life again where I could say carnivore diet works. A low carb diet works. If you don't have a problem with sweets, if you are not addicted to sweets, probably just a very good strict keto diet will work for you along with some allopurinol. Okay? Eventually, you probably won't even need the allopurinol. Okay? Because your diet will help you fix a lot of these things. You're getting rid of inflammation. Uh, if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, You know, that's another big problem. A strict keto diet and a carnivore diet will reverse your type 2 diabetes. If you're pre-diabetic, it'll be quick. You will get rid of that problem. You will lose the weight, and that's the key thing. Get rid of inflammation, lose the weight, get rid of inflammation, and like I said, get rid of the sugar, get rid of sugars, get rid of processed foods, get rid of vegetable seed oils. Do your study. I don't want to make this into a keto class or a carnivore class. What I'm here to tell you is this: I have had gout for many years. I reversed my gout on the ketogenic diet. I fell off the ketogenic diet. Gout started coming back. I got on the carnivore diet. Within 2, 3 months, my gout flare ups were gone again. I'm at 5 months I'm at 5 months of carnivore now, going into my sixth month of carnivore. And along with my allopurinol 300 milligrams and initially the colchicine, I have been able to get the gout under control. Okay, so this video is not a video to teach you about carnivore, is not a video to teach you about keto. It's a video to tell you that if you suffer from gout, there's hope. You do not have to suffer with it. Do your research on a low carb diet, ketogenic diet, keto. Do your research about carnivore. Now, if you ask me, what do you think is best? Is it the keto diet? And again, I'm talking in a gout perspective, okay? If you suffer from gout, if you come to me and you ask me, and you tell me, I suffer from gout, do you think I should do the keto diet or I should do the carnivore? I'm going to tell you, do the carnivore diet. Do the carnivore diet and allow yourself a little bit of time. Do the 3 month challenge on the carnivore diet. Take your allopurinol. Nobody likes to take medication, neither do I, but we have to be able to function. And to be living in pain, forget it. Um, so I would say do the carnivore diet. It's an elimination diet. Now, if you really wanted to get strict, you could do the lion diet, which is just meat, water, and salt. That was a little bit too much for me. I don't know. Some people do very well with it, and it's an elimination diet, right? But I still find even just carnivore, where you're eating meat, animal products, and I could tell you what I eat, but it's still an elimination diet. You eliminate a lot of things out of your diet, and you don't have to be carnivore for the rest of your life either. You could get yourself to where you need to be when it comes to weight and having your uric acid under control, your gout is under control, and then you could slowly introduce certain things, and by doing that, you are going to learn what works for you and what doesn't. You know, I know that for me, tomato sauce is a big no-no. Fructose is a big no-no. Um, so I have to be very careful with that. So um, do I plan on going back from the carnivore diet? I initially thought, yeah, I'm going to do the carnivore diet for a while, get everything under control, and then I'll probably go back to keto. Guess what? I don't even have the cravings for anything. I don't even think about it, and it's like, okay, why start adding all of this new stuff to my diet? I don't need it. I'm not finding a need for it. What is my carnivore diet? I eat steak, beef, I eat venison, I eat fish, especially whiting and codfish. I eat seafood. I eat eggs. I eat bacon, pork, red meat, pork, chicken, all of that. Um, some dairy. I make my own kefir. I make my own yogurt. And that's pretty much my diet: butter, coffee, heavy cream. And I know it might sound a little bit boring to some of you guys. If you talked to me about this back in 2019 about doing carnivore, I'd be like, oh my God, butter, red meat. I already am dying of cardiovascular disease. Well, I'm not dying, but you know what I mean? This was my mindset back in 2019. But what I'm trying to say, yeah, it sounds boring, but once you get used to it, it is so easy. It is such an easy diet. It's easy. Um, you learn to cook your meats, your beef, your chicken, your ground beef, in many different ways. um I you know I don't have a problem with it anymore. And remember, I come from an European background where we have quite a variety of foods. But no, I have no problem with the carnivore diet. I have no cravings. I don't crave sweets. I can tell you, my wife is not a carnivore. She's not on a low carb diet. My son is now, or has been now, carnivore for 2.5, maybe 3 months. Um, but my wife, unfortunately, is not, and she still buys stuff, that when I was in a keto diet, it would derail my diet a little bit or make me cheat. Um, But she has bought things. Just recently, she had chocolate-filled croissants in the refrigerator, which when I was on the keto diet, it was like I would sit watching TV or something, and those croissants would be calling me, "Hey, come in." But I knew they were there, and I had no desire whatsoever to go and eat those croissants. And I used to love those. I'd have two in a row if I got my hands on them. So the carnivore really eliminated those cravings, and quickly, much quicker than the keto diet. It reversed everything. So um, for the sake of not boring you too much, feel free to ask me any questions if you want. And again, I just wanted to let you know that there is hope. If you suffer with gout, you don't have to suffer with it. You can reverse a lot of that, and I'm not the only one out there talking about it. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.